Marketing problems for shops rarely come from just one thing. It might be tactics, it might be execution, it could be the framework or the system, or it's possibly the fuel that's driving it. The trick is figuring out what is holding your shop back. So let me tell you a quick story. I was talking to a shop owner last week. He had a good bit of marketing in place. Ads were running, social posts were scheduled, reviews were being collected on a regular basis. But even he told me it felt canned. And after digging in, it was. And so some tactics were right, some tactics were absolutely wrong. And while it was also on this mindless repeat, none of it mattered because the content was generic. The plan and the content wasn't actually theirs. They weren't consistent across their channels. They weren't working together. Once we focus on structuring that system and properly feeding it with tailored content, that's when we're going to start seeing results. And then we're going to see those results quickly. Before we dive deeper, let's highlight the last two Garage Grit episodes. This past Thursday, Julio's episode, we talked about communication, discipline, perception. He showed up on how these three elements create scalable trust in a shop. So for example, Julio shared a single front desk miscommunication once that cost him thousands in missing revenue. By tightening that communication, keeping that discipline, and managing customer perception, his marketing actually started to convert more consistently. And you can read that full blog over on our website, or you can hop out to the YouTube channel, or just go to our podcast page on the AA Shop Marketing website and get the quick link from there. But it's worth checking out. Go do that. All right. So the episode that dropped just this morning was an episode with Matt, and he dives into optimizing shop systems so that marketing isn't just an activity, but is producing actual results. One thing that stood out was how Matt made a lot of small tweaks in the scheduling process and had a bigger impact than just changing the ad copy. So you'll be able to read that blog soon. You'll be able to go check out the episode right now. It's on Spotify. It's on YouTube. Go check it out for yourself. But I really liked when I was talking with Matt, him talking about the expectations were different from the reality once he got into doing things. And so, like I said, it's worth a listen, and we'll go from there. So let's get back to talking why your marketing might feel broken. So here's the truth. Your marketing might look broken. It might be broken. It might feel broken. And it's rarely just one single reason. It's usually a mix of things. It could be, like I said, a weak tactic, an old tactic that doesn't even apply anymore. And it doesn't match your audience, doesn't match your shop, or it no longer fits with the Google profile, what actually matters. Inconsistent execution is a common theme. I tried it last month. It didn't work. Well, that might not have been long enough, right? And so you can't just pick up and start and stop and start and stop campaigns. You could have misaligned framework or misaligned systems. How are you answering the phones when people are actually calling in? I mean, what's the point in actually increasing the number of calls to your shop if you're not able to handle those increased call volume? And so again, also another thing that we see a lot of times is, hey, you're doing some things. I actually was talking to a shop, I guess it was early December. And I liked a lot of what I was looking at. He was making good progress. And I told him that. And he felt that it was too slow. And I was like, well, that's because you're under fueling this system. You need to 3x it because of how dense your population is, or how many competitors you specifically have. And in those cases, it was for him, it was both. So he was making progress, but it was just really slow, right? And that might not be enough to actually bump up the call volume. And so you've got to pay attention to what your competitors are doing. You got to pay attention to how many people are in your immediate area, because the more people, the more noise, which means you have to rise above that noise. So if you believe, but here's the thing. All right. So if you think that there's one marketing plan that's going to work for every shop, then you know what? Go fire up an AI prompt and go get your marketing plan. But if you think your shop is unique and you want a system built just for you, well, then you ask me. It's not about throwing more money at ads. It's about consistently giving the system what it needs to operate with clarity, repeatable processes, and the right resources. I've worked with a shop that spent thousands on Google ads. Leads didn't feel like they were really converting at a high enough rate. Some of the campaigns were okay, I didn't think the messaging tied together, but we actually switched them to local service ads. And we also made sure that all of his messaging was unified across platforms. And so between the LSAs and the unified messaging across platforms, we actually spent a little less money and got him much higher results. And you can learn about our framework that we use. And again, it's our framework that we customize, right? Inside that framework, we customize it for every single shop. But you can learn about that framework by going to addi.me/2026. That's addi.me 2026. A marketing system isn't just clicks or impressions. It's not even just posts. It's actually about predictably filling your bays with the right types of cars who are owned by your qualified audience, your right type of customer. Empty bays, all right, you need a system that generates more cars more consistently. Full bays, but stagnant revenue, then maybe your system needs to drive more of the right type of customers, maybe higher average repair orders, maybe better jobs, maybe smarter scheduling. That healthy system connects marketing with execution and follow-up so that every lead has a clear path from the first call to the finished invoice to the next invoice, because they keep coming back because you've built that trust. This alignment is what turns marketing from noise into predictable revenue. Think about it like an engine, right? So even the best fuel can't make a broken engine run. And the perfect engine doesn't run if there's no fuel. Number one, I'm going to tell you to know your numbers. All right. Make sure you're paying attention to whether you're using your gross profit or your average repair order, or your car count. Know your numbers. Know your true capacity. How many more cars can you produce with your current staff? And without that, you're kind of just winging it. And then obviously work backwards, right? So if you know that your average repair order is only 600, but you want 20 more cars per month, that's 12K in additional revenue. So how much should you spend on marketing? Well, you're backing into that equation, right? So I would actually tell you to take another deeper dive even further than that and figure out what your margin is on that 12K. But you need to ask yourself, what does my system need to look like to consistently generate those cars? What would you be willing to invest from, let's say you have, so many cars per month. Well, how many dollars per each order would you be willing to invest to get more of the same? And you need to continue to feed that. I see shops fail because not because they're not spending enough or because they're spending too much. It's because of that start, stop, and interrupt system before it stabilizes. And so it's not just hey, I haven't heard my phones haven't rang this week, so let me turn on the ads. I guess that's a strategy. It's not one that I recommend. Let's see here. So one shop that we worked with stopped running the campaigns for a month because, just like I just said, because they thought the results should be on off like a switch. But when they restarted, Google's AI on the AdWords program that they were on needed to start rethinking a little bit. And it just kind of took a little bit to get turned back on. It didn't take as long as it did initially. It still sped up a little bit. It still got you some calls, but there are times when it's not an immediate switch and you need to actually keep things going. So here's what you could do this week to start feeding your system properly. Again, look at your numbers, decide what cars you want, map your system, and feed it consistently. And if you feed it consistently, then your results are going to be more predictable and more measurable. If marketing feels random or stressful, it's almost always because the system wasn't properly structured or fueled. So if you want help figuring out what your shop's next system should be, your next step should be, if you want to figure out how to make it run a little bit more smoothly, then give me a shout or go out to addi.me/jumpstart, fill out that form. My team will actually do some research on your specific shop, your specific population density, your competitors, and then come back to you with your next best marketing step. That's so you can get a jump start on your marketing in 2026 by just going to addi.me/jumpstart. And if you want a more detailed look, like kind of like a step-by-step guide for you to try to plan your marketing for the year, you're welcome to download our free framework, our playbook for auto repair shops at addi.me/2026. Again, that's addi.me 2026. I will see you guys back here next Tuesday.